So I like to share that video because a lot of life has happened for me the last few years. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of why I'm here and why I think it's important to share my story with all of you. So today I want to talk about survival. A key part of rising in the face of inequality and inequity in the world is building the resilience and wherewithal to walk through it, scarred but not broken. When I look out at each of you in this room, I see a room of warriors. I see it in you because I, myself, am a warrior. What I've learned is that the greatest war in life is actually with yourself. What you will be at war with most consistently is how you process and face the emotional battles in your life. This is what I want to share with you today. You will all go through some extreme challenges in your life, and I want to make sure you're equipped with for the most graceful of victories. Warrior. This word is embedded in my soul. It's etched onto every bone in my body, flowing through my veins as if it's my birthright and my greatest purpose in life. I am a warrior. And I come from a long line of warriors, birthed from the womb of a mother who did nothing but have to survive, her own mother bearing this honor as well. Surmuk Kaur Puar, my nanima. The first woman to attend her college in India in the 1950s. On her first day of classes, a male classmate pushed her to the ground. She swiftly arose and had him suspended. She laughs every time she tells me the story. She gave birth to 3 daughters and a son, losing 2 daughters early in life, the first dying in her arms of anaphylactic shock. My aunt was home on break from med school. She was 19. The other, killed in a hit and run on a cold Calgary night, leaving behind a daughter and a ripple of broken hearts. I'll never forget that night, the night that I witnessed my mother's humanity. Stunned and in shock, it dawned on my mom that she was the sole surviving daughter in her family. My mom, my ma, my everything. A warrior from a young age, she broke barriers in sport and life. Married at 19, Ma struggled to conceive for 7 years. 1 miscarriage and years of judgment and criticism later, and she carried a full-term pregnancy. My brother was born, and a few years later, me. Raised in the Punjabi community in Grand Prairie, Alberta, I learned to navigate life as a bit of a chameleon. I integrated into white communities fully, and I went to Punjabi school in Gurdwara every Sunday. I learned through Ma to wear our culture with pride. Yet, depression caught me at a young age. In 4th grade, an intervention with my teacher and my mom led me on a new path. Doing well in school and looking happy, I learned, would garner positive attention from those around me. I learned to associate my external success entirely with my self-worth. If I didn't achieve, it meant I was not worthy of what I perceived was love. This tendency became a great tool to survive the alcoholism and abuse I witnessed at home at the hands of my uncle. I learned to suppress my pain and hardship, to model perfection. Thus began my unraveling. Fast forward some years and my breaking point came. On Christmas Eve 2014, we sat in the intensive care unit at the hospital praying over the sedated body of my mother's brother. Tati vao nalagayi par brahm sarnai. He was in recovery from surgery to remove the cancer from his mouth. We were praying for him to open his eyes. The pain seeped into my own body as I tried to be strong for Ma, for everyone around me, but my own pain found a way to catch up to me. 3 months later, I found my tumor. It would be a year until I was diagnosed with cancer. It would be 2 years until I began to truly heal. I tell you these stories because I come from a long line of warriors. I learned that who we are is not only defined by enduring trauma, pain, violence, illness. No. Embedded in our journey is our birthright for healing and for joy, and defining for ourselves who we want to be in the world. My healing was forced onto me as I faced my mortality head on. After I survived cancer, my brain began succumbing to the burden of stress, depression, pain, and work that I was forcing it through. I actually lost vision in my left eye and became partially blind. But don't worry, I can see you all very clearly right now.
My brain was slowly starting to give up because I refused to deal with the pain and trauma in my life. I had two options: continue down the path to death or heal. That's when I chose to heal and survive, and I want to share with you the 3 steps in my journey to survival, my journey to living a full and meaningful life, and my journey to becoming my definition of a warrior. What they never taught me in school is that the most important tool you will need in life is the ability to process your emotions and the challenges that life is gonna throw at you. This is my formula for doing just that. Step 1, let yourself feel your pain. When I was diagnosed with cancer, I was so concerned about everyone else in my life, the impact it would have on them. I learned this was a pattern in how I processed trauma and pain. I would focus on the pain of others instead of my own. So my pain would go unhealed and it would live in the crevices of my body. I felt as though I was unworthy of my own pain. I would always compare. I would tell myself my circumstances aren't as bad as others, but then I learned comparison is the thief of all joy. To begin to heal, I had to own my pain, own the stories I was telling myself, and own the fact that I was ready to be well. I had to give myself permission to feel my own pain and not run from it anymore. As young women and men, there will be people in your life who write off your pain, who write off your experiences. This is my reminder to you that only you know what your lived experience is like. Don't let anyone try to diminish your pain or your light. You are here for a divine reason. And every experience you encounter along the way is there to guide you towards who you're destined to become. Own every single part of it. Step 2, open your heart to support. I'm fortunate to have been supported by incredible people through my highs and my lows. Women and men who helped me build my career, women and men who walked alongside me when I was in recovery from cancer, women and men who have carried me forward through so many key moments and battles of my life. They didn't end up by my side by chance. No. I was intentional about the quality of people I allowed into my life. People who were not quick to judge me. People who loved me for who I am when I am at my lowest. People who respect and don't abuse me. I was responsible for establishing how the people in my life are allowed to treat me. It's hard when we feel betrayed. By society, by our friends, by our family. I know it all too well. When I was sick, there were a few people who fell away, people who walked out of my life, but I didn't let them break the trust that I had in the incredible few people who did show up for me, my true allies. I'm here to remind you that there are people in your life who are prepared to walk your path of healing and joy with you, but it's your responsibility to let them. Step 3. Realizing you can live a healed life. We can become stuck in the patterns and stories we tell ourselves. It is our own responsibility to break through these stories. We're not victims to this life. We are capable of choosing our perspectives, choosing our future, and creating our dream reality. I stand in front of you as the truth of this statement. A year ago, I didn't know if I would ever take a stage again, but here I am. After doing the work of coaching, therapy, rehab, and healing. I did this. No one else did the work for me. I believe in the exact same reality for all of you. To heal, I had to own my pain, accept the support of others, and believe I could be healed. This is what it took for me to be right here today. What I've learned through my life is that what we have survived is what we are meant to share with the world. Stories of survival are healing the world. Survival is not only embedded in my DNA as a brown Punjabi Sikh woman, but in all of us. People of every culture and background, together ours is a collective history of survival and overcoming, and we are a generation unleashed. We are a generation of so many firsts, you guys. So many of us are the first in our families to speak truth to our stories of mental illness, trauma, and pain. Yours is the first generation to embed intersectionality into our movements and to truly acknowledge the disproportionate pain that minority communities endure. I am the first in my lineage to step away from arranged marriages. So many of us are the first to be seen by our communities for the powerful beings that we are, whether they're ready or not. Shame no longer silences us in our pain, does it? The shame we have been subjected to was depriving us of our own emancipation. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. None but ourselves can free our minds. We are breaking through realities that no longer serve us. We will not be held down. We will not be suppressed and objectified. We are responsible for our own survival and healing because we can handle it. Together, we are warriors. The reality we are creating is powerful beyond measure, you guys. Joy is our birthright. We have generations of joy in us to unleash. We are here for a reason. We are here together, and together we rise. We rise through shame. We rise through our trauma. We rise through our lifelong pain. We rise as we heal. We rise and we survive. We rise together as warriors, and we will survive together as warriors. We are here for a divine reason. We are all destined for greatness. Thank you, my beautiful warriors. Thank you for showing up for the lives I know you're all destined for. Thank you. So I think we have time for some questions.
Hello.
Hi.
So you began by talking about your ancestral roots and your cultural heritage, and we saw in the video that you were doing some work abroad. I don't know exactly which country. Where was it?
India.
In India.
Yeah.
How do you balance doing work in India as well as doing work here? Because you're here, and you're talking to us about, you know, strength and gender equality, but it seemed you were doing the same thing in India. How do you make sure that your work is impactful and relevant in both spaces?
That's a fantastic question, and it's something I'm still working on today. To be totally honest, I get so intimidated when I think of the work that I want to do abroad, when I think of the work that I want to do back home. My family, we have a school in my village, in my dad's village, and it's co-ed. It's got one of the best soccer teams in that area. But the thing that happens when it's a sports school is education goes second. Not only that, but when I went and I visited myself, I saw that the women's facilities and girls' facilities were subpar. They were less than the men's. That's a school that's in my ancestral heritage. But I'm still trying to grapple with and figure out, how do I go there without being seen as this, as the woman that could be diminished in that society? And so it's something I'm dealing with every day, but the more strength I have here in our North American and our Canadian soil, a place that nurtured me and allowed me to be who I am, the more strength I will have to make that impact back home the way that I want to. So it's a daily experience. I'll let you know as I further develop. Thank you for that question. We've got one up front. Perfect.
Hi, so my question is, how have both your gender and racial identity intersected to hold you back throughout your life, and how have they benefited you?
So one story that comes to mind, and it plays up a little bit of back home, I went to India when my grandfather passed away, and I got to meet some young girls in the village where my mom grew up. And these girls, it dawned on me, being born in Canada, I was born with so much privilege. I had the opportunity to be educated in a public Catholic school system, the opportunity to go to university. My parents had the opportunity to go into business and become the entrepreneurs that they did. If I grew up in rural India, it would have been a totally different situation. One of the young girls that I met there tragically took her life a few months later because her sister had an arranged marriage where her husband was abusive. And so both sisters committed suicide together. And when I heard that story, it reminded me that being a brown woman who grew up with the privilege that I did in Canada, it is my sole responsibility to uplift the lives of women and girls who I may have otherwise been, had this not been my passport, had this not been where I was born. So the intersection of being a woman and being a brown woman is hugely embedded now in my nationality of being Canadian. And that's why things like what Rhiannon's doing with having you all here today, having Sophie come on stage and be right here with all of you. Don't take this for granted, you guys. Living in Toronto, having access to what you all have access to, it is one of the greatest privileges in the entire world. Please don't take it for granted. Thanks for that question.
We have one over here.
Is it one or two? Okay. All right. Vulnerability. He asked, as a warrior, what is your best weapon and your best defense? Vulnerability. It has been beat out of us as a society. We're told that being vulnerable is being weak, especially when we're teaching our young boys how to be men. We're told our emotions aren't worth it. We're told that you have to keep that in. Boys don't cry. That is BS. What I've learned is that when we suppress our pain, when we suppress the emotions that are screaming at us to come out of our bodies, we get sick. We get stressed, we get mean, we bully, we become assholes. So by being vulnerable, by being willing to feel your feelings, by being willing to lean on the people around you, like the 3 points I shared in my talk, those are the things that are actually going to help you unleash, are going to let you be a warrior. Because warriors, we don't only go to battle, we show up for others. The only way we can truly show up for others is if we're willing to be vulnerable, willing to deal with our own pain so it doesn't get in the way of how we can serve the people around us and serve the world around us. So that's my armor. It's being vulnerable. It's letting my heart be open with all of you. Open to what? What's my weapon? That's the armor. It's my heart. My weapon is my heart.
We have one last one right here.
All right.
Hello.
Hi.
As a woman and as a warrior, how many women do you want to reach with your organization?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. So our film Dream Girl that I produced back in 2016 when we launched at the Obama White House, that film has been seen by almost 100,000 people. And so when I saw the impact that our film could have on teaching young women and girls and young boys and men about entrepreneurship, about what starting a business can look like, about what having 4 of the 5 main characters in our film were women of color, that was intentional. It made me realize that this impact is scalable. So maybe 1 million is a small number. Maybe it's 100 million. I am open to whatever this life will allow me to do, whatever impact this life will allow me to have. But it's not going to be small. I'll promise you that. And you guys can watch our movie online. You can go to my website, komalminhas.com, or you can follow me on Instagram. We'll link it right there, and you can have a second dose of inspiration today. Thank you guys so much.